Let's see, that looks pretty good. Last shot, here we go. Ooh, according to the drone, it looks good. Next thing I need to do is figure out which powder I'm going to use. One of the things that I don't like about a lot of the modern books that we have here is it does not give you the case capacity fill like it does on the Hodgdon website. And since this is a different bullet, I'm going to have to do this a little bit backwards. And what that means is, having a former load, I know that 43.4 grains of the IMR 4350, this stuff here, is filling this case at about 110, if not 115% case capacity. And what that means is, once I drop all the powder in there at 43.4 grains, it is just above that shoulder right here. And once I push the bullet down with the ram, you are definitely beginning to hear it crunch. What I am looking for is 100%, about 95 to about 105% case capacity. And what that means is, at the bullet length that I'm going to have at 2.852, I believe is what I said, I want that powder to be basically just touching the bottom of that bullet to where I'm shaking it. It's going to fill up the side of it, but not crushing it. And so the Super Performance, this is a good middle burning powder that a lot of people rely on, and it's basically the twin of the H4350. It's just not temperature sensitive. And the H4350 is temperature sensitive. I'm going to try this new Hodgdon Super Performance, which is a lot slower burning powder than this, meaning I know this is definitely going to fill up the case a lot more, but I don't think I'm going to get the velocities that I'm looking for. But I also have this faster burning Alliant R16. So I am definitely doing this backwards, but once I figure it out, so all I'm going to basically do is start at about 40 grains of powder and then drop that bullet in there at the depth that I want it to. And this neck has not been formed, so I'll be able to easily pull the bullet out. What I'm wanting to do is feel that powder against the butt of that bullet, and then once I figure out what that charge weight is, I'm going to compare it to the manuals and guides here to make sure that I'm not overcharged and going to blow myself up. But I'm going to do this a little bit backwards, and I'll show you as we go along the way. The reason I'm having to do things backwards is because of this alone. You're looking at the 124 grain Hammer Hunter, the Match Tactical Hunting Bullet from Cutting Edge. This is the Hornady 123 grain SST, the Nosler 120 grain Partition, and the Spear 120 grain Gold Dot. So all of these are 120 to 125 grain bullets. But if you look at the Hammer Hunter bullet, it is exponentially longer. So this is why I'm having to figure out what the charge weight is backwards, because of the length of the bullet. Okay, since we know where IMR 4350 is, I'm going to start with the Hodgdon Super Performance here. And I'm just basically going to do a scoop and drop inside of this digital scale. Let's start at about 41 grains. Ooh, this is a ball powder. I was not expecting that, to be honest. Well, I'm going to be able to put a lot of powder in this. There's 41.02. Let me drop this inside of the case. I can tell you now at 41 grains, the powder is right about there. So I want it to basically be right about where the bottom part of that shoulder is, where the tip of my thumb is, right there. Let me add one more grain. Where's my other? This is now 42 grains. Eyeballing that. Oh man, I could add a lot more. I'm gonna go all the way up to 45. Let me do that. Yep, that's exactly where I wanted it. 45 grains of powder is a lot. I think I'm going to be surprised with Super Performance because it's basically a little bit lower than I wanted to. Let me turn on the light real quick. Hold on a second. Okay, y'all see that? So it's basically right there. Yeah. My low data books are so dated that it did not have information on either of the Alliant R16 or the Hodgdon Super Performance there, so I did a little bit of research online, and I found that with the Super Performance, guys using the 120 grain AMAX to GMAX are anywhere between 44.2 grains to 48.5 grains of powder. So you extrapolate that, if I'm using 125, I should be right about the 45 45, 46 grain loads should be right in that sweet spot area. Barnes did put out information about the 127 LRX, 127 grain LRX, and their max charge is 45.0, which I think is what I'm going to start at, and their minimal is at 40.5 of the Super Performance. The RL16, I went to Alliance website, and they only publish the 120 grain nozzler, ballistic tip, and soft point bullet, and they're at 45 grains of powder. So let me show you what's going on here. I've gone ahead and loaded 45 grains of the Alliant R16, and as you can tell, that is way up into the neck beyond the shoulder. But in comparison with the IMR 4350, which I'm using 43.5 grains, you can tell that that is just at the shoulder, which is the sweet spot. So I may actually test this up to maybe, let me look what this looks like at 43 grains and then maybe work that up. But I may not do that because I'm probably going to get the same performance as I do the IMR 4350, and I'm really saving this powder for a precision load that I'm working on. And I'm really, again, surprised with the Hodgdon. I mean, I've got 46.5 grains of the Super Performance in here, and it is right at that sweet spot, if you can see here. Come on, focus. You can tell that it's right there at that shoulder where I'm wanting it, right there. That's at 46.5 grains. And so I think that's going to be right at the probably 95, if not 100% percentile. Let me go ahead and get one of the bullets in here. Here we go. And I don't know if I've got this actually set light, so let me back this out a little bit. I may have to put this in my tripod. Yeah, it's not even crushing there, but let me check what the overall length is. Hold on a second. Nope, still not crushing. And we are at, I already set it too deep. I can tell by looking at it. Yeah, I'm at 2.712. Yeah, so I've got a lot of room to work with. I may actually be able to push this up to 47 grains of powder. So I'm not crushing at 2.712. So yeah, we're going to experiment. I'm not going to do anything with the Alliant. I'm going to keep it to the IMR 4350 since I've got a charge weight already set, and I'm really just going to play with the Super Performance. Now that I've selected the powders I'm going to work with, stay tuned for the next video as I determine the overall length for all the bullets that I'll be using. Ooh, according to the drone, it looks good.